Happy Wednesday. So this week we're talking about the shadow. I recorded 3 different videos last night thinking that that was what I wanted to say, and now today, in a fresh light and a fresh set of eyes on what I recorded, I realized it was totally missing the mark, and really all I was doing was trying to procrastinate my way out of something that I didn't really want to focus on last night. So it's a great example of the shadow, which I'm going to start by defining. So Carl Jung was the first psychologist to coin the term shadow. And really what it means is the part of our personality or our ego, our inner critic, our essence, our being that we disassociate from or dislike. So the part of us that we know is true and real, but avoid. So for me, it's laziness. It's also bitchiness. But these are the 2 biggest examples I can think of what my shadow looks like. I'm a very hardworking individual. I'm a Virgo with a Capricorn rising, so I'm very determined and I get things done easily. But I tend to procrastinate and I tend to be very lazy when it comes to getting things done. So if you were to say, Alicia, you're lazy, that would be an attack on my shadow. And it would trigger me because I know I'm lazy and it's something that I know I need to work on. And I do it by procrastinating and then forcing myself to be under stress and pressure to hurry up and get it done. Same thing with bitchiness. So that's a part of me, if someone called me a bitch, I'd be offended, I'd be hurt because I don't want to be labeled a bitch. But deep down, I know that I have been, and I will be again, and that is a part of me that when you do shadow work, you can use and integrate for your benefit. So the idea behind shadow work is to take a look at these personality traits, whatever you want to call them, and face them head on. And that's why it's so hard and it's so conflicting, because in order to move forward and be this person that can accept this duality of darkness and light and admit that we're human, admit that we make mistakes, we have to look at our imperfections. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to look at what's wrong with them. They want to look at what's good and make it better. And that's how we've been conditioned. That's what society tells us to do. Oh, you're a great teacher. You're a yoga teacher. Why don't you own a studio? They don't think about all the negative qualities or other things that you may need to work on in addition to what's going well. We tend to pinpoint what's best about us and just run with it. And the true growth happens when you look at the stuff you don't want to work on, the stuff that is harder to face. Because nobody wants to admit that they're a bitch. Nobody wants to admit that they're lazy. And your examples are all going to be different for each person, but why am I lazy? What is it that doesn't make me want to work? And I can get into details with that. But that's really not the point. The work happens and the change happens when we notice why we're doing what we're doing. And we could say, I'm being lazy because I'm scared I'm going to fail. I'm being lazy because I'm really just tired and I don't want to do this today. I'm being lazy because actually I don't care about this and I don't even know why I'm working so hard on it, because it's not aligned with my true goals and my overall life purpose. So you see how we can benefit from doing this work, because I can recognize that I'm being lazy because I'm scared. All right, well, what are you scared of? Failing? So fail. And then you check that off the list and you move on. It wasn't meant to be. But try your best. Being lazy isn't going to make you feel any better if you do fail. At least you can then say you've done your best, right? If you're being lazy because you really just don't feel well, that's another thing you can address. Say, hey, am I not practicing self-care? Am I being really hard on myself? Am I actually being lazy, or do I really just need a break? And then lastly, if it's something like in this example, where we're talking about laziness, you realize it's not even something you want to do and you're putting pressure on yourself to get it done. It doesn't align with your goals or your life purpose. All right, course correct. So don't do the thing that you're procrastinating on. Find a better goal. Change. Adapt. So we use these personality traits, the shadow, as a tool to help us figure out our essence and understand ourselves better and be authentic and relate to each other. So if I see a friend say to themselves, hey, I'm so lazy today, I just don't feel like doing anything. Instead of agreeing with them and be like, yeah, you're a lazy piece of shit, or like blah, 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 I could say, well, what's going on? Let's talk about it. And I can empathize with them and say, when I am being lazy or I feel lazy, it's really because of this, this, and this. And that's what I've noticed. So again, highlighting something you do well is an easy way to be better at whatever it is that you're working on. Saying, hey, Alicia, you're a really good communicator. I like these videos. Cool. How does that help me? I'm already doing it well. I appreciate feedback, of course. But if someone said to me, you're lazy, I would think about that a lot harder. And I would really work to try and not be lazy, or to understand where the laziness comes from. Because a negative quality isn't necessarily negative. We created these terms. We created dark and light, positive and negative, and we're all human. If you're watching this, you're human. So you know that you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. So to shun a side of ourselves that's all negative just because we don't want to admit to our imperfections, we don't want to admit that we're wrong or we're bad sometimes, is really crazy, because it's impossible to achieve, and it just makes us more miserable. It just makes us feel even less accomplished and even less proud of ourselves, and less happy, less out of the present moment, which is really what we're trying to achieve in life, right? We're trying to be here now. We're trying to be present. We're trying to relate with each other. We're trying to just find inner peace and happiness. Does anybody not want that? So how can we do that if we're constantly striving for a perfection that is impossible to achieve? We set ourselves up for failure. So how do we stop failing? Admitting that we're not perfect is step one. Admitting that we're human. And then looking at what makes us cringe about ourselves and saying, why do I hate this? Why does this bother me? What is this trying to teach me? And why am I a bitch? Am I a bitch because I'm really just an evil person? No, usually it's because I care and I want to protect somebody, and I'm afraid of something bad happening to someone I know and love. Maybe it's me. Maybe I act out as a bitch when I'm in public and somebody, hits on my friend at a club, and I'm like, yo, get the hell away from us. Like, in that moment, it's good to be a bitch, right? Because you don't want to be nice to someone who's aggressive and rude to you. You want them to know to back off and respect your boundaries. So that situation might be approached in a bitchy way, and that's good. But if I'm like that all the time to people, that would be bad, right? So again, these are super basic examples. But my point with shadow work is that we really can't get a true understanding of who we are as a person if all we're doing is looking at our good qualities. We need to look at the bad ones too. And remember, it's not bad like you're bad. These are just, it's positive, negative, true, false, yes, no, dark, light. Duality that we created to exist in a world that really isn't. It's just how we define it. It's just our way of understanding things as humans better. We can talk about duality. It's a whole other conversation in and of itself. So I'll leave you with this quote to ponder, and we will talk more about this stuff, shadow work specifically. The reason why I wanted to talk about the shadow is because of a quote I heard from Deepak Chopra's podcast, Daily Breath. He said, anyone who does not have a shadow is standing in darkness. So I'll let your mind be blown with that, and this is where I will end it. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining.